And we're not live, we're recording. We're doing the first in-person episode. And I'm here with Cato. Cato, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are wearing Kanye masks because Cato wants to remain anonymous. Smart move. I don't know why he wants to hide that beautiful face. I mean, it is fucking gorgeous, ladies. But he's got to hide it for work reasons, I assume.
Yeah.
So, good. So we're going to... Go ahead.
Just keep it anonymous. Don't want to face docs yet. That may happen in the future. If some things pan out as I'm planning, I'll face docs, but not right now.
Smart. Honestly, I wish I never did, because now the whole, if I want to now go into, hopefully do the priesthood route, it's like, if I have my face attached to this, maybe it's delete some episodes.
Yeah.
You know, I have a few too many Holocaust jokes. I don't know how that's going to fly.
You know, I was watching a speech by
Bring
Father...
the mic in real quick, actually, just a bit into your face.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
closer?
Just bring the mic in a little bit to you.
Okay. I was watching a speech by Father Chad Ripperger, and he made some comment about the Holocaust that felt like, maybe that's my bias, but it felt like he wasn't... the way he phrased something was kind of weird, you know. It's like, maybe he is more of our guy than I had previously thought.
Dude, I'm convinced he's our guy. He's awesome. Also, the fact that he's friends with Kevin James just sells it for me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But we're going to do a little book club. We're going to cover the letters to the churches from St. Ignatius of Antioch. This is Cato suggested, and I'm very glad he suggested it, because it is 7 letters, all demon phenomena. Everyone should check this out. It's a short read, too. I knocked it out in an hour or two. So it's definitely worth picking up, checking out. Why did you decide to pick this book, and how did you hear about it?
I heard because a lot of Catholic apologists always mention this book, always mention St. Ignatius of Antioch. And I had never... I kind of knew of him. I assumed Ignatius Press is named after him. And I had always... I was aware of him, and I heard a lot of apologists talking about him. But I had never sat down to read his letters. And the way I see it is that if I weren't a Catholic when before I read these letters, I would have become one after reading it. Because they make such a compelling case for Catholicism, mere decades after Christ's resurrection, that it's just insane. So I think it's a small book. It's a short book. You can read it, like you said, in a couple of hours, and there's so much there that every single letter, every single section of every single letter is just full of important stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it was St. John Henry Newman, who said the seeds of all Christian theology can be found in the letters of Ignatius of Antioch, and it is 100% correct. You're reading through that's a seed. I see where that became. That's exactly what I is today. You know, it's just kind of interesting that historically to see how early it is. You know, I think Trent Horn said it was he was the church father Protestants fear most.
Yes,
because he does this to a T. He's like, no, here's the bishop, here's the presbyters, here's the deacons, here's the Eucharist.
Obey the hierarchy. Obey the hierarchy. I think I think those are the 3 main points that he hammers home. Obey the hierarchy, obey the bishops, obey the presbyters, obey those who have been appointed to look after you. Don't entertain heresy, and maintain unity. Those are the 3 things that he keeps hammering home. He keeps repeating those 3 things.
I mean, I think it was Pope Benedict wanted to make him a doctor of the church. It's called the Doctor of Unity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can see why. And he does stress unity so much so that I'm like, I am glad I'm Catholic because of that. Because if I was a Protestant reading that, I'd be remembering every Christian I know who was a friend who left to go to a different church because pastor system he didn't like. And it's like, there's no respect for those above you in Protestantism.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is important, and I think is on the second letter, He's the first one who calls to call Christ's Church Catholic. He's the first one to use that verbiage, and I think for that alone, for giving us our name, that just puts him on a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that I want to point out real quick in the beginning of it is what's it at here? First page. Yeah. Ignatius, who is also called part of my terrible Greek, Cephorus. You know, it's anyone can look it up. It's interesting. It translates to basically lifted by God, which leads into the legend of Saint Ignatius of Antioch. That in Mark 9, when the apostles were arguing who was the greatest among them, and Christ held that smart side, say at least I don't have the Bible for me to quote it, but you know the story. That side was Ignatius of Antioch. That's why he's called Cephorus, I think is how it's said. But it's really interesting to think, oh yeah, he might be in the Bible. He might, physically come into contact with Christ. And then he wants to be reunited with Christ and true martyrdom. It is really another interesting fact. He is the third bishop. He is the third bishop of Antioch. Was trained with, I believe it was Polycarp under John the Apostle. And do you know who the first bishop of Antioch is?
Who?
Peter.
Really?
Yeah, but because they were on the one to Rome, so there was a time when he went in Rome, and he was the first bishop of Antioch before he went back to Rome.
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's so he bumps shoulders with some of the the big names.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
Yeah, you can't, if you're gonna play some historians that call his credentials into question. It's like, well, he might be in the Bible.
Yeah,
he knew John, he knew Peter, he knew the apostles. He's like first generation Christian. Yeah. You can if you're gonna start calling his credentials into question, you gotta call in every other church father, maybe every other Christian.
Yeah, he definitely is. And the way he talks about, and I think the way he talks about the structure, I think I like how he hammers home the whole thing about the bishops, about the presbyters, because that is something that I don't, from the church fathers that I have read, he's definitely the one that talks about the church as a hierarchical structure with a defined hierarchy that has to be followed. And of course, because he was communicating with so many people, that was clearly something that was there. But from my knowledge that I'm trying to remember, that's not something that is as hammered home as much as he does. And possibly because since he's one of the first ones, by the time the others started popping up, he had already hammered home that point. Yeah. So much so that it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's just the same way the church doesn't define things. There's a what's the word? A scandal around that kind of thing. There wasn't a need for defining this because it was already been defined, and there's no need for scandal because everyone knew. Okay,
let's not preach to the choir, as it were.
Exactly. So all these letters were read on the way to Rome, where he was martyred. I believe by lions.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something that I think is incredible, is that he knows he's going to be martyred, and it's something that's, I think, is so incredible, because he's writing these letters throughout his journey. So it's interesting to me that, and it seems from one letter to the other, that he's addressing people he had seen on his journey to Rome. So he knew. So it seemed they were doing a tour with him of sorts, and I don't know why, and I don't think that really matters. But he knows, and he keeps telling people, don't save me. I want to die. I am going to die. I want to die. They're going to feed me to the beasts. Don't save me. That's such a brave attitude. It's such a embracing martyrdom. It's just incredible.
Yeah, here's a quote from him. Let fire in the cross. Let the crowds of the wild beasts. Let tearing, breaking, and dislocations of bones. Let cutting off of members. Let saddling the whole body, and let the dreadful torments of the devil come upon me. Only let me attain to Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, Yeah, the entire letter to the Romans is like his desire to die.
Yeah.
By death I shall return to the true life. Reasons to desire and to die. Be ye favorable to me. I no longer wish to live after the manner of men, and my desires shall be fulfilled by ye consent. Be ye willing then that ye may also have your desires fulfilled. I entreat you in this brief letter to give you credit. Do ye give credit to me? Jesus Christ will reveal these things to you, so that ye shall know that I speak truly. He is the mouth altogether free from falsehood, by which the Father has truly spoken. Pray ye for me, that I may attain the object of my desire. I have not written to you according to the flesh, but according to the will of God. If I shall suffer, ye have wished well to me. But if I am rejected, you have hated me. Wow,
God bless him. He's so tough. Jeez.
It's, his bones and relics. You know where they are now?
Where?
There's I can't remember if it's a basilica, but it's a church to Pope Clement.
Oh.
And his bones are in the altar there.
Yeah, I think I may have heard that before. Now I make the connection.
I got some quotes here on him real quick, actually. Here's a quote from Pope Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
Saint Ignatius of Antioch, the doctor of unity, is an example of holiness, who strove to live for the fullness of communion and on mission to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he is. And what else popped to you about this? Because one thing I think, aside from reinforcing the hierarchy of the early church, I think it's one thing that jumped to me was how he talked about not letting themselves be Judaized.
Yeah.
That was something that was so interesting to me, because I understand him talking about heresies. I understand him talking about unity, but it is interesting that at the time, and I think that was published, this book was, the letters were, he was executed around 90 AD. Mm-hmm. That, if I remember correctly, he was martyred in 90 AD. And it seems that not 60 years after Christ had resurrected, people were reverting back to Judaism. Mm-hmm. So I think that his need to reinforce that was very, very, very interesting.
I think there's a letter here saying, find his letter on it. Where was it at? Short one. The Old Testament is good, but the New Testament is better.
That's one of the best ones.
So I'm gonna read it real quick, because then it's hard to summarize something so incredible and just so short. I can't summarize it, just feels doing an injustice to it.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, excuse me. The priests indeed are good, but the high priest is better, to whom the holy of holies has been committed, and who alone has been trusted with the secrets of God. He is the door of the Father by what's into in Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and the prophets and the apostles and the church. All these have for the object of attaining the unity of God, but the gospel possesses something transcendent, above the former dispensation, vis-a-vis the appearance of our Lord Jesus Christ, his past and resurrection. For the beloved prophets announced him, but the gospel is the perfection of immortality. All these things are good together if you believe in love. I mean, he has some. He's a. How do I put this? He can be not harsh. He walks that line that I think a bishop or priest should walk, where it's like he can castigate you and uplift you in the same sentence.
Yes, that's exactly how it
what
is.
You want to read.
Yeah, he is, and he is very brief, because he's not wordy. This is a very short book. It's not wordy, but he conveys the entire message very succinctly, but also beautifully.
Yes,
which is also. It's a skill, and it's also a good skill for a bishop to have, for a priest to have, because you don't want 30-minute homilies that are just rambling homilies that last 30 minutes and go nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I started going to Catholic church how short the homilies were, because I was used to it being a 45-minute lecture pretty much from a pastor.
Oh.
So I walked in like, here we go. 15 minutes later, I'm like, we're done? Oh, we're done? What? But is that because it's a random Wednesday? What's going on? But no, it's great.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that section that kind of reads like it's a proto creed that he is talking about the things that we ought to believe, and they almost feel like a proto creed. Do you remember which letter that was in?
Let me look.
It. I dog-eared instead of writing down my notes.
That's all good. Salutations, conclusions. Wait for me. Where is it at? I don't think it begin Romans. Romans is just about much he doesn't want to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
While you look for that, I want to kind of rattle off. While you look for that, I want to say something to the audience about it. For the longest time, Protestants just rejected these letters outright because they refused to believe they were. Because how to put this? It is so apparent and obvious from the text what he is referring to, what he is talking about, that you really can't argue it from the text. You have to just, discredit the text.
Mm-hmm.
And so, John Calvin outright said, what if we can find it here actually? When Catholics cite Ignatius, it is what they pretend to be Ignatius. It outright rejects it. A Protestant apologist, David Hunt, says, even the first 6 generations of believers after the apostles were already wrong, and so we can't trust them. We can't trust any of the church fathers. Like, when you have some pieces like Ignatius who are just so, exactly I know several Protestants who have these weird opinions of the church fathers. Like, oh, the church fathers brought philosophy into theology, and then that's all where it went wrong. I'm like, what's one?
Oh, that's another thing that he mentions, and it's very early in one of the very first letters, and that I remember, is that he talks about it's almost like proto-Thomism. And he's talking about the two parts with the substance and the other thing that I'm drawing a blank now right now. But you know what I'm talking about because you know Thomism much better than I do.
It is. Yeah, I mean, really, the only church father I could think of who was like an actual, did a lot of philosophy was Orton.
Mm-hmm.
And no one holds him as a saint.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe David Bentley Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another thing, a little pet peeve of mine. Just because he's not a saint does not mean you should ignore him. Okay? Just because he had his issues, he has some of the greatest scriptural commentaries. He also completely debunked, in my opinion, his arguments completely destroyed Neoplatonism and paganism. Because his teacher was another church Christian philosopher. He wrote an argument for Platonism leads to Christ, and another guy came out and just debunked everything he said, and they went unanswered for 100 years.
Wow!
And then Orton came in and was like, "That's wrong," and then disproved all of it, and then did everything else he did. So he really was the nail in the coffin for the pagan arguments. And so given that paganism seems to be coming back into focus nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Going back and reading Orton and understanding his commentaries and his philosophy and his ideas is useful. Yes, he also might have been insane, and he also might have been a universalist, or I know some guys claim he was a what's the word here, abolitionist. That's not the right word.
Not Abyssinian. No. I'm thinking of something else.
It's the view that if you're not saved, you don't go to hell. Your soul just ceases to exist, and so there's just nothingness after instead. So it's either heaven or eternal nothingness.
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Cameron Bertuzzi holds to it, which is weird.
He what?
Cameron Bertuzzi's conversion to Chrysostom is very weird to me, because I'm happy he's converting, but he seems to be trying to convert on his own terms instead of submitting. Because he had this reason that he's like, I couldn't accept divine simplicity. But then this new philosopher came along who's Catholic, who presented a new version of it, and I could accept that. And I found out, there's ways I can formulate my, not universalism, but, he holds a weird way of God's foreknowledge, maybe being open theism. he has a few things he holds that are he formulates in a way where it's not affirming actually anything, but it leaves him open to seeing it personally and still submit to Rome. And it's like that you're converting, but you're not submitting.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot with Americans, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the risk of his whole mere Christianity thing, because you try to water it down to the most common denominator, and you end up believing cookie stuff. Yeah. So it's better to what's his name? The name of his channel, whatever. Capturing Christianity. It's better. It would be better if it were just capturing Catholicism then. Yeah. But I understand, like, he is in a tough position because I'm pretty sure his wife still hasn't converted.
His wife is still going to be a Protestant. I think he wants to raise. I think they have kids. He wants to also raise them Protestant.
Yeah, that's not gonna work, man.
No, it's he needs prayer. Obviously, everyone wants to pray for him.
Of course, yeah.
Because like I'm a little bit of a tangent, but we're live, one person, we can go on tangents. Mere Christianity is it's weird to me because I don't think YouTubers like Kevin Bertuzzi should be doing it. I don't think YouTubers like Trent Horn should be doing it. I think the two, they should be doing higher level stuff. I think the average everyday person and the street apologist and the guy who has atheist friends should really just focus that. And now if they are Catholic, I use purgatory a lot when people ask me about what about was Jeffrey Dahmer when he converted Christianity 6 months before he died? Is he in heaven? I'm like, well, maybe he has a long time in purgatory.
Yeah.
Someone's like, what's a Family Guy clip where it's the Navy SEALs fire Osama bin Laden, and he's like, I convert to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And he gets shot in the head and gets to heaven. It's like, no, it's probably be, a long purgatory.
Yeah.
And I think that's a useful answer to people when they kind of throw these those
gotcha questions.
Yeah. But Christianity is like you should be able to, I know some Christians who have no idea how to defend the resurrection. And I'm like, you can make a good historical methodological case for the resurrection by simply showing that if you won't accept that, you have to kind of deny Alexander Hamilton, Nero, Caesar, George Washington, Washington, Delaware.
Everyone that we only know from small historical sources or non-historical sources, even like legends and stuff. I think mere Christianity is very dangerous in that way, because you're gonna have to water it down in such a way that you strip doctrine from it, and it's very hard to do. And he's clearly in a tough spot, and I pray for him. The other day, what's his name? Pints with Aquinas. Matthew Fredio had some guy, Michael Jones.
Not the good Michael Jones, Sally.
No, not the Michael Jones. I sent the meme to the group. I just added an E to the name. Anyway, he is a mere Christianity guy. Michael Jones is a mere Christianity guy, but he does it in such a way that is not watered down. I subscribe to his videos and I started watching, and whenever he's addressing the issues, he addresses in a doctrinally based way that is not just like I said, watering down. When he's addressing someone's comments about the Pope, he talks about the doctrine or about Christ or about those things. He's not pulling punches or trying to. I think he does mere Christianity right, because and also he doesn't divulge what kind of Christian he is.
Yeah, it's
so. After watching his content, I'm leaning towards thinking he is some sort of Catholic or Eastern Catholic of some sort. He doesn't strike me as Protestant, but he could be just a good, honest Protestant, which
they can exist. I know a few.
You
don't find them online often, is my thing. People, this is the thing for anyone listening. The Protestants you deal with on Twitter are not indicative of the Protestants in the church next door.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing with most Catholics other than us, of course.
Well, we're just, we're the fucking greatest.
Yeah, we are.
We're awesome. This is why you subscribe for awesome people like us.
Yes. Other than us, I think online people tend to be very bad. But yeah, and they all should read Saint Ignatius of Antioch.
Oh, absolutely. Let me see if I can find a note here somewhere.
I couldn't find because my mask to preserve my identity is preventing me from reading because
that sucks.
I have the glasses, and even then, it's tough. But anyway, yeah.
Let me see if I can find the bit here because he has a few stuff on marriage I liked.
Oh yes.
Here it is, chapter 5: the duties of husbands and wives. This is in the letters to Polycarp.
The Polycarp, yep.
Yeah, which is another martyr. Another, is he a saint? I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure Polycarp is a martyr.
Yeah. Weird thing about I'm gonna
Saint Polycarp.
I'm gonna throw a little shade before we get into that. Actually, I'm gonna throw a little insults. Not insults, but kind of just I'm gonna laugh about this. There was a guy, Craig Hoglis. I can't remember how to his name. He runs the Bad Roman podcast, Christian anarchist, and he draws all his Christianity from the Church Fathers.
What?
All of it from the Church Fathers because they were most of them were martyrs. And he draws their, denial of the state government as anarchism. I was talking to him, and he was like, "Where do you get Catholic from any of these people? Because I don't see anything Catholic." And I was him just thinking, like, "The fucking Eucharist." I mean, do you not see bishops, presbyters? What are you not seeing here? Do you not know what these words mean?
Yeah.
I was just like, I was funny in the podcast, but I remember singing afterwards. I'm like, I could have really pressed hard on that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was like my fifth episode. It was way back, like 2 years ago, fifth episode. I'm like, I'm not gonna be that kind of guy, but now looking back, like,
now you gotta. Yeah, and the Saint Ignatius of Antioch, he talks about the living Christ in the Eucharist. That's one of the things that he's one of the earliest guys talking about the living presence.
Yeah,
I think it's on Smyrnians that he talks about the living presence, and it's how can you deny that that's what the early church believed, and it's just insane to me.
The Protestant history is, I don't know if you know this, Caleb, but I know a guy, Caleb, who has a history major, a very smart guy. He's a Protestant. He's a Protestant historian, and my joke has been those don't contradict. Like, he's a great dude, love him to death, but at the same time, it's kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's.
What are you doing?
We gotta pray for them. That's ultimately what it is. We gotta pray for them because I think my journey back to Catholicism was very easy because I didn't consider as I was reverting. Well, not reverting, but as I went back to believing in God or admitting to myself that I believed in God. I didn't consider being anything other than Catholic. I could not think of myself going to a church or praying and not thinking of Our Lady, for instance. I could not think of being a religion that she wasn't gonna be important.
I mean, honestly, the more I looked into Mary when I was becoming Catholic, the more I'm like, wait, why do? But that was why when I was looking into it, when I was still a Protestant, just to kind of understand it, I'm like, why don't we agree with this? This seems pretty awesome. Like, how can you look at this, La Pieta, and not just want to cry?
Yep.
I mean, it is beautiful. I'm tearing up now.
It is, and
it's a graven image, apparently.
It is, and we're being idolatrous by. Yes. Yeah, if we love her, we're idolaters, I guess. But yeah, I think I could not think of anything, and he talks about her as well, Saint Ignatius, and I think that's the biggest, most important thing about this book is how all these ingredients, and like I said, if I weren't a Catholic when I read this, I would have come out at least strongly considering.
Oh yeah,
that's the way to go.
This kind of like reaffirms, not the right word because I wasn't questioning it, but it really did was kind of like a. I'm in the right place.
Yes,
I'm where I ought to be. And that is kind of a comforting thought. Here it is. The duties of husbands and wives: flee evil arts, but all the more discourse in public regarding them. Speak to my sisters that they love the Lord. And be satisfies their husbands both in the flesh and in spirit. In like manner also exhort my brethren in the name of Jesus Christ, that they love their wives, even as the Lord of the church. If any of them can continue in a state of purity to the honor of him who is the Lord of the flesh, let him so remain without boasting. If he begins to boast, he is undone. But if he reckon himself greater than the bishop, he is ruined. Taylor Marso. Taylor Marso, you're Catholic. You should maybe read this book.
Oh, yeah.
You should go read this one, you know?
Submit to the bishop. Respect the bishop. Respect the presbyters.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, do you see that video, the rapping German bishop?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say, submit to your bishop, but also leave Germany.
Yes.
I'm going to say this.
But I think the problem is not that he's a bishop. I think the problem is that he's German.
Yes, exactly. The Germans. How can they be so great? I'm not going to... I mean, you see the book I have right over there.
Yeah, the internal crowd is just...
Yeah.
Shame.
Same. We're same.
Yes, but do go on, sorry.
Yeah, I think I was... Where was I at?
The duties of...
Yeah, if he is undone and he reckons himself greater than the bishop, he is ruined. But it becomes... Both man and woman who marry to form their union with the approval of the bishop, and their marriage may be according to God, and not after their own lust. Let all things be done to the honor of God.
I think
Fantastic.
I think that's such a point that I remember that. I think I earmarked it, but dog-eared, whatever. I think that's something that has been lost in a lot of ways. In that of course, love is important. Love as in attraction. I think the more I think about it, the more I think we use love in a wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it's much, when you think of love as willing the good of the other for the sake of the other, it's much easier to think that you love much more people than you used to. So, romantic love is important, but that the centrality of Christ in the relationship, as he puts it, is the important thing. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's been lost even among religious people, which should be obvious, even Christians.
Let's put it this way: like, God is love. God is three persons in one. Two people get married, it's to be a third. Mm-hmm. It's to be that bishop who opens this, who forms a union between the two of them. You know? It should be a symbolic. It's symbolic. It should be that, and there's a. It's really like I'm going to some weddings recently, and I'm just sitting there like, there's no priest. This is some guy who got a form filled out online. And granted, I filled out that form when I was a Protestant. Technically, I'm an ordained minister of the Church of Latter-day Saints. Mm-hmm. I still have the paperwork somewhere. I need to figure out how to do with that. I don't know if that causes any issues later down the road or not yet. It's like goes to get ordained. It's like, well, sorry, son, but you gotta figure that out now. I'm like, what do I do? I was stupid.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that easy. But yes, I that's exactly what you mean. That's exactly what it is, and it's it makes me really appreciate how that's the thing that keeps coming back to me that kept coming back to me as I read this, is how much we have how in a lot of ways culture has strayed away from it, but the Catholic doctrine is still that. That's still what we believe in, and that's why we cannot believe in divorce.
Absolutely.
That's why divorce is an abomination, and that's something that even other people who call themselves Christians are down with. Like Protestants, they get divorced a lot.
The last question I asked I was always the guy who asked questions to my pastor or my youth pastor and stuff, and they would never answer them. Mm-hmm. The last question I asked, if I realized I'm not going to get any answers from these people, was I walked up there, I'm like, well, here, and I was talking like, hey, what's the deal with divorce? Because like here it just says, marriage, God, what it skips. I can't remember the top of my head right now, but my point, I read it to him. I'm like, yeah, we have, like, they're divorced. I point, like, she's been divorced, he's been divorced, they're on a second marriage. Like, what's the deal here? And he was like, I'll get back to you Sunday, and I will let you know. I walked up to him Sunday, and he's like, you got an answer? He goes, no. I'll get back to you later. I'm like, okay, and he never did. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I gotta find the answer somewhere, because if I wanted to be a douchebag, I'm like, well, sorry, we believe sola scriptura. This is what it says. What are we doing?
Yeah, of course. And I know that we have bad priests. I know. I don't like to admit it, but I know we do have. But at least we have the catechism. When in doubt, go to the catechism. When in doubt, go to the fathers.
Yes.
When in doubt, we have all these other things that we can refer to if we believe, for whatever reason, our presbyter is not as good.
Yeah. There's a weird argument, not argument, but there's a weird sort a lot of Protestants have, at least, that Catholics are arrogant because they claim on its authority. I'm like, but all Catholics are supposed to do is submit to the higher authorities.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not arrogant about that or prideful about that. I'm like, I have done myself and submit myself to all these things.
Yeah.
I still don't know why we fast on Fridays. I don't know if I like it or not, but that's not for me to say.
Yeah, I just submit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's much easier to live that way. It's why if you hear those who live in monasteries, who live in abbeys, like monks and friars, they all say that they have a very free lifestyle. Because you just submit. You don't have to think. You don't have to.
This was Eric von Ledine's point he brought up, and he said, if you ask someone, I'm going to describe a place and guess where it is. You have all your food taken care of. You never leave. You're surrounded by men of the same age. And you have a very strict schedule that you're here to. Mm-hmm. And most people go, prison? He goes, monasteries. Mm-hmm. And that also makes me think of Fowenstein's point, Bishop Fowenstein's point that the prisons, every prisoner, so he phrases it this way. Human beings only have so much energy to direct towards goals. They don't have so much energy to direct towards being good or being bad. Every monasteries are filled with people who direct towards the good. Prisons are filled with the same kind of men who direct towards the bad. Every prisoner could be a great monk in a monastery and a great saint. Mm-hmm. And it's the similarities between the freedom found in a monastery is similar to the freedom found in a prison, though the path to get there is very different. Mm-hmm. But freedom is doing what you ought. Freedom is not the option of multiple choices. Mm-hmm. It is the freedom that you are most free when you behave how you ought to behave, because you don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. You just pursue. You're just like, I was supposed to do, so I do this.
Yeah, and I see, I've been saying that since I started, because I'm a designer, and I work with that kind of stuff IRL, and I always tell people that creativity doesn't come from unrestrained. From not having restrictions. Creativity comes from the restrictions. So whenever in my professional life, whenever someone tells me, "Oh, just do whatever," I'd rather be shot in the kneecaps. Give me as many rules and as much constraints as you possibly can, and I'll perform beautifully.
This gets into I think what's it about art for a second was that kind of concept. Look at these paintings.
Yeah.
What is a painting supposed to look like? You have restrictions, you have rules. What is modern art? Mm-hmm. Nothing.
No
rules.
Have
no rules.
Yeah.
Now we have the shittiest art we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. We literally have, shit in a can on display.
Literally.
And compare this or compare that. Mm-hmm. Compare this.
Yep.
Compare this. Compare any of these things to the banana on the wall.
Yep.
The bloodstained fur coats or whatever it is,
Or the crucifix dipped in piss.
That what?
Yeah, there's I don't remember if it's a crucifix or a statue of Our Lady in a jar of piss.
Heads must roll. We must kill
millions,
yeah,
possibly billions must be saved.
Yes, must be saved. It's by force.
Yeah, but
I think it was Jacques Maritain who was like, no, you can't convert by the sword, but you need to have the you're not going to get rid of the need to kill people in society. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have the need of an executor, and the executioner would be glorified by God, trued up, and it'd be the grace would impact onto that person in doing it, and it would be ordained by God in those situations. Because you always gonna have the need for some. The idea you can have a functioning society without having to kill a few people.
Yeah, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I think it was this is Grant Point on Constantine's recently. All those semi trucks keep spilling. No one's heads are rolling.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like we gotta get on that.
Yep.
I'm just saying, the greatest works of literature came out of exile.
Mm-hmm.
Cicero, Dante, Machiavelli. They were all exiled, and they all made incredible stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or if they're like failed artists and they're in prison.
We're not gonna.
You're gonna have to cut that off.
No. We're veiled enough on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. Reminds me. Do you watch any TV? Like, do you watch TV often? Or are you more a TV guy?
Not really, but
there's a show called Succession on HBO Max.
Yeah, I've heard of that show.
I started watching it a few days ago. I watched the first episode, and I'm like, this show is awful. It's garbage. I don't ever want to watch it again. Everyone is very ugly looking.
Uh-huh.
I spent the entire next day thinking about it. Could not stop. Went home, I binge watched the first 2 seasons. And I looked into it. Apparently, they knew exactly the story they wanted to tell. So there's no waste. They're like, we need 4 seasons to tell the exact story we want to tell. No wasted scenes.
Perfect.
And it's awesome.
That's how TV should be made.
Yes, it should. And there's a scene. So they want to. It's basically it's Rupert Murdoch, the guy who owns Fox News, and they're interviewing one of the hosts who's kind of had a problem where it's like he's like a Tucker Carlson stand-in who got married at a place where it used to be, Hitler got married there. Maybe his dog is named Blondie, but it's spelled differently, and so he's like, "Have you ever read Mein Kampf?" Yeah, a few times. Any Easter eggs you missed on the first read? It's like, well, I'm really interested in the time period. And he goes like, well, why? It's like, well, the scales. I mean, think how many people died. And rounds up some numbers, and the guy's like, I didn't hear 7 million. He's just kind of staring at him, and he's just kind of staring back at him.
That's funny. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to watch that now.
It's pretty good.
It does sound good.
Yeah, and they're not Catholics, but they are Catholic.
Okay, gotcha.
And so it's kind of some, like the guy's on the run, figuring out where to hide with next with this. So he's like, I can go to the Vatican. He's gonna go hide out at the Vatican like an old school Italian family. It's
funny.
It's pretty. The guy like gets followed by the Pope, and it's like a big deal. It's fun.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a tangent about because I can't. I was like, before you put it up, I was watching it. When I got home from work, I was watching it. The moment you leave, I'm probably gonna turn it back on. I'm hooked. I'm locked in. I can't sing about it serious right now, but that's so. It's just everyone is so awful. You hate all of them, and you want none of them to win. Yeah. But you can't stop watching the train wreck.
I get it. It's like I kind of feel that way about Arrested Development. Everyone's such a terrible human being. Yes. I can't stop watching it.
That's so hilarious.
They're so terrible. They're awful, terrible people, and I want to watch it.
That's me and my 600-pound life.
Oh yeah.
That's it. There was so much trash television, but so much of it I can't like the Learning Channel TOC. Have you seen the new dating show they're doing?
The what?
The new dating show they have?
No.
So there's been a rash of like crazy dating shows. Discovery Channel did one called Naked and Afraid of Love.
Oh,
where the Austro rolled into the wilderness naked and it was couples.
Oh no, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, there was one where the people they could only speak in animal noises, and they win the game. Then they can go to the little oasis where they can talk normally. So the guy that's walking around going like bark bark woof woof at a woman, and this one guy's like, I'm a fucking elephant. What do I do? He's like just trying to elephant noises. One guy's a monkey and he's just doing this dances. It's nonsense.
Oh my gosh, that's so stupid. I need to watch it.
The TLC one is called MILF Manor.
I think I may have seen something about that.
It's a bunch of MILFs on a manor, and all the guys, each MILF's son is one of the contestants.
Oh. That sounds so good.
Awful. I mean, when the mom would have a guy's arm, like, "Hey, Kim, I'm taking your son back to my room," and she's like, "No, you won't." Goes, "What's he gonna do about it?"
So it's like The Bachelor meets the Real Housewives of whatever county.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, ouch. That sounds.
At one point, not to last a bit on it, but they do a game where it's like you reveal a secret on the board, and you don't have to guess if it's you. Mm-hmm. And one of them was I slept with my son's best friend. And this one kid's like, my mom wasn't able to do that. I've had a best friend since 5th grade. It was his mom. And so he's just buck naked in the pool, drunk off his ass, swimming around. It's like, you gotta go inside. No, and he keeps swimming away from her. And he just turns to the cameraman and starts talking to the camera like, "Hey man, life sucks, right?" And the cameraman's like, "I don't want to be here." Holding the camera. It's incredible.
Oh, that's so bad.
I love trash television.
Yeah, me too. That's
well,
yeah.
Going off on a tangent.
Yeah, big tangent.
Let's get back. I have some notes here.
Okay, go over your notes.
Because really, this is as great as it is for, like, you know, self-affirming your face, understanding it, from the theological parts of it. I think ultimately it serves great as a apologetics work, especially when dealing with, you know, Protestants, where it's like, hey, you want to believe what the early Christians believed? There we go. Mm-hmm. So the Protestants have some really weird ways of trying to, like, get out of it. You know, like John Calvin had his whole quote about when, you know, they claimed it was fake. Philip Saft, a 19th century scholar critical of Catholicism, said the whole story of Ignatius is more legendary than real, and his writings are subject to great suspicion and fraudulent interpretation. No real reason for that.
It's all cope.
It is cope. It is
all cope.
And scholars are saying actually Protestants in like the late 1900s determined they actually are true. So now they're kind of dealing with that. There was actually all the work was done by a Lutheran scholar who ended up converting to Orthodoxy. And I'm like, you know what? You can't read that and not go apostolic.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You can't,
at least some kind of apostolic.
Yeah, either that or you're drinking. You're just smoking copium.
Yep.
But there are some really weird websites that try to hold as fake. Like here's one. Bible.ca. They say, we feel that it is no coincidence that the first historical reference to the church as the Catholic Church is contained within one of the 7 genuine letters of Ignatius of Antioch. We feel this is proof enough to reject all his forgeries. It's like their argument. It proves it true, and it can't be true. Therefore, it must be false.
Therefore, they're starting from their conclusion, as they often do.
They later said, the power of the bishop is absolute. These kind of statements paved the way for papal infallibility. It also took the command to baptize and serve the communion out of the hands of the common Christian and gave it to the sole authority of the bishop. This again is forward into the New Testament where there were no clergy laity distinctions. Not true at all.
Not true at all.
Not true at all. I mean, literally, it's like, okay, it doesn't exist. Take it to the church. You know, this is my new argument with like the newest Protestants, like Jehovah's Witness people, who say things like there was no actual Christianity from the year, 60 to the 1900s. Like, okay, so Acts, when they said take it to the church, was just not in effect. There was no real Christians for that entire period. What, the Holy Spirit take a nap?
Yeah.
What does the gates of hell will not prevail against my church mean in this context? Like this, it's so many. Not all Protestants, just some like the Jehovah's Witness, Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, and the Calvinists because they're stupid. Are just pure cope. I mean, James White drinks so much copium, his beard is just white. He is just the worst.
He is.
And I need him to debate Trent Horn again. I need him to debate Timmy Aiken again. I need someone to just crush him. He needs to go on Continentals.
Oh, he needs to go to Conrad.
Jeremy talking.
That's
Jeremy
for sure. Oh my God, Jeremy is gonna.
You'll find him like, I will fly out there, motherfucker. Oh, find you.
Oh, that would be. Oh, it would be just like the Sam Hyde video, but James White, I'm gonna kill you. Unlike no, in real life.
Sam Hyde
in Minecraft.
Yes, in Minecraft. Millions must be saved in reality, and millions must die in Minecraft.
Yes. Millions must die in Minecraft, millions must be saved in real life. Yes. And okay, this is about the book, but also not about the book. Did you notice how many misspellings there are?
Yeah.
I was very upset with that.
There was a few things that kind of bugged me. The way they spelled Arno, I'm assuming because there's an extra U in there, it's just British.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming this is a British printing. But there were a few things that came up, I'm just like, I don't... Like, vis-a-vis would be there, but it's just V's, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I think it's very early on, that there's a sentence with a random letter in the middle. Like a random N or a random A.
Real quick.
Okay.
Let me grab my... There you go. Let's compare. No, because apparently I actually had these letters already. I didn't buy the book.
What? Oh, you already have him.
Apparently. I didn't know he was in here. And he's the first page of certain months I've actually read this book.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone listening? This is a Phase of the Early Fathers by William Jurgens. This is the book. These are the series that converted Scott Hahn.
Oh.
I also believe this is a series that converted Peter Kreeft.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get that.
Oh, there's 3 volumes of it, and they are incredible. It's just a collection of writings from the Church Fathers.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
It's dude. I got a Bible. I got a study Bible I ordered today. Should be in tomorrow. It's the study Bible with commentary notes all from the Church Fathers.
Oh! Did you? You got a study Bible?
Yeah.
I have at home Aquinas's Catena Aurea, which is his compilation of commentaries of the Church Fathers.
Ooh.
for the synoptic for the Gospels.
I need to get my hands on that.
Yeah, Matthew is this thick. But yes, it was compiled. It was the Catena. I don't know how to pronounce Catena Aurea, and it was compiled by Saint Thomas Aquinas. And it's whenever I'm reading and I'm like, okay, I don't understand this. I'll go to my bookshelf and get that.
Yeah,
because it's that app that I've mentioned before, Catena.
Mm.
It's basically the same thing, but an app. But yeah, I prefer the real deal. To go
I'm the same way. Like I have so many books on my phone, ebooks. I'm like, I'm just gonna buy it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Like I tried to do what is it? Signs of the Cross from Edelstein on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? No, Edelstein needs to be read slowly in a well-lit room.
Yeah, that's how I did with St. Augustine's Confessions. I started on the phone, but I couldn't. I was like, no, I need to have this on. I need to hold this.
Yeah. If you like the Confessions, you gotta check out 7-Story Mountain from Thomas Merton.
Yes, it's on my buy list.
Yes, it is so good. Thomas Merton, you know me, I have my issues with Indian culture, Indian stuff.
Uh-huh.
But when he does talk about it, okay, I will listen to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
No one else. But
Yeah, of course.
I will understand that. Yeah, I'm looking through his letters in this copy. I'm not seeing anything weird or weird spellings or anything.
Yeah, it must be of something with this edition. I don't.
Yeah.
I can't even find the publisher, but it wasn't as good. I should actually do something I don't do often, which is leave a review on Amazon. But
yeah, there was no introduction. There is one thing. It is just bare bones.
just very bare bones, and I love it for it. But I don't appreciate the spelling mistakes or typos or whatever it's called.
I'm gonna put that there. There we go. It was I think we've exhausted that. Maybe a few passages I want to read towards the end. But speaking of Augustine, you know who I think Augustine gets talked about a lot for good reason. He is incredible. I mean, if you read his stuff on the Trinity, you read the City of God, the Confessions, his homilies, all of them, fantastic. His mom, Saint Monica.
Saint Monica, I love her.
Saint Monica needs to get talked about more, in my opinion.
Yes.
That is, I think, I had this conversation today with a friend. I don't know what you're saying. We were talking about how modern men there's a lot of modern guys who just won't get married because their wife wants to work, or they'll end up having to be the guys who's home with the kids.
Yes.
And that is not what ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are letting, in my opinion, they're letting the idea of the perfectly ordered get away from being ordered towards the good in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think St. Monica as an example, because let's think about this. Augustine was not a great kid.
No.
Not a good kid. She had a pagan husband in a pagan city, in a pagan time. And she is still a saint, and she still raised one of the greatest saints.
Yes.
I think she did not let the idea of the perfectly ordered detract from the idea of what was actually in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something today where there are guys who are going to be like, I will never get married because all women now suck. And I'm like, okay, maybe not. If you find a woman and you love her, and she wants to go off and do a job, and you can't convince her not to do that, and you're going to be the guy staying home, you now have a chance to martyr St. Monica and raise great saints.
Yeah, yeah.
If she wants to go to work and you have to stay home with the kids, that's not how it should be, but that's how it is.
Yeah, you have to.
Raise the
That's
kids.
something that's so true, that we have to understand that we have to play with the cards we've been dealt.
Mm-hmm.
Saint Monica played with the cards that she had been dealt, and she raised a saint.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we're at an age that we have a lot of. I'm not saying that broken people didn't exist, but we have a lot of people with very, 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 very massive brokenness that we have to adapt to that. If we are to get married or whatever, or to push people to get married, if we're not going to end up getting married, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But we have to, people have to understand, okay, you have to play with the cards you've been dealt. You live in a terrible, extremely sexualized society.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of, for all intents and purposes, we live in a pagan society.
You could say we live in a fallen world.
Yeah. We live in there you go. We live in it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to play with those cards. You have to understand that you've been marinating in that nonsense for your entire life. How can you extract sainthood or sancticity from that? And that's what she did.
Mm-hmm. It's
And that's
incredible.
what we must do
Yes.
as practical practicing Catholics.
Yes. We can, you have to. Okay. Anyone listening? Biggest pet peeve: exist in reality. Just exist in reality. Don't want the simulations. Don't want the VR. Don't want to Twitter. Don't craft the simulation. Don't want to an ideology.
Don't live
Exist in reality.
Don't live in city of God in your head.
Yes.
To borrow from Pete Quinones
Yes, don't
with
live
his
in city of God in your head.
Encapuchon in their head. Don't live in city of God in your
Yes,
head.
I like that. Don't let the city go ahead. You have to deal in reality, and unless you're going to live a consecrated single life, which I think that can be a good thing.
I think that may be a necessary thing.
Yeah.
I've talked about this not to people in general, but I think there's a reason there's a lot of good Catholic guys and they're single that can't find wives, and there's a reason that we have a broken church.
Mm-hmm.
Those things exist at the same time. Maybe there's a reason why there are so many good Catholic dudes outside and a church that needs good Catholic dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe y'all should give up a wife and that stuff to become priests.
Yes, but there are some who. How do I put this? No Catholic man likes the idea of having a wife who goes to work and he stays home and raises the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the opportunity to make sure they actually go to mass. To actually be in charge of the education, be in charge of the catechesis. Is that the word?
Yeah, you can because, and it's something that in the Old Testament, the father is supposed to be the priest of the household.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
And that's how it continues to be in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be a priest of the household, maybe if you have more free time in your hand, you're going to be a better priest.
Yes.
If you're going to have more time in your hand, invest that time in becoming the priest of the household.
Just because you have chosen not to be a spiritual father and be a biological father does not mean you cannot still fulfill the role of a spiritual father to these kids.
Exactly.
You can do both.
Yeah.
This is like Peter Creed was talking about when someone asked him, like, do you ever think about being a priest? He goes, I did, but I wanted it all. I wanted to be a physical father too. Not instead, two. He wanted to do both. And I think that's the important
both
part.
and
Yes.
not either or.
Exactly.
I think that's a very good point.
Yeah. So, if you're single out there and thinking, I just won't ever get married, unless you plan on joining the priesthood, reassess that.
Yes.
Don't be the 50-year-old bachelor with nothing
Yes.
to show for your life. don't do that. You know?
And be kind, be charitable with the struggles that people have had that they're trying to overcome.
Yes. Now, if a woman, let's face it, the society sucks.
We live in it.
We live in it. It sucks. It's fallen. People get trained. They live in a culture. They marinate in it. They become spiritually of that culture. Culturally that.
Mm-hmm.
The odds of finding a woman who has not been with several guys is low.
Almost non-existent.
Exactly, almost non-existent. They are not damaged goods.
Yeah, and for the ladies out there, the one that probably listens to this, the very one, I know she exists. You're not gonna find a guy who hasn't struggled with fucking porn and jerking off constantly.
Yes.
Every single fella who says she's rode the cock carousel, friend, you know how many you've seen Mia Khalifa's butthole so much you know it better than the palm of your hand. So pipe down.
I'm not gonna name names, but there is someone we know who has the argument that the damaged goods. If you suffer with porn addiction, you should never get married. That you're just damaged goods.
I don't agree with that because I think it takes a tremendous amount of stuff to make someone completely damaged goods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think it's at least something that you have to bear in mind whenever you're passing judgment on a girl who has rode the carousel.
Could. Yes. There's a few saints who were prostitutes. And they became great saints. And some of them married, some did not.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually a little funny detail. My parents' first Catholic service was my confirmation.
Okay.
And they, when they go through all the saints and stuff, pray for us. This saint, pray for us.
Uh-huh.
It was open. My mom was like, I didn't know women could be saints.
Really?
She did not know women could be saints.
Wow.
And I'm just like, yeah, there's so much people just don't know.
Yeah. Well, the most important woman of all is a saint. I don't usually think of her as a saint, but she is a literal saint. She
Queen
is
of heaven.
the first of all, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we've gone for an hour.
Okay.
You want to keep going? You want to wrap it up? You want to do any more covering the book?
No, I think we covered everything, and we went on some cool tangents.
We did.
I
It was
think
a
that
lot
was
of fun. Give me plugs. Where can people find you at?
Cato the Sneaky on Twitter, and hopefully my YouTube channel. I've been promising, but I've made strides in resurrecting my YouTube channel, and it's gonna have a different format, and it's gonna be something to be look forward to.
And if anyone wants to see some of his incredible artwork, he did the banner and logo for Austro Thomism. So if you ever want to see some cool work that he's done, it's like Austro Thomism. He is I guess we call him the autistic guy. He's the creative guy. Because we're not creative. None of us can draw.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
Yes.
Doing it live.
Yes, I wanted to do at least one live one before I ended it. So,
Yeah.
if you're listening, only 2 more streams to go. After this, I have a Austro Thomism late night where we're going to have, I think, Has, Eincast, and Bodes, and we're going to do a philosopher tier list.
Nice.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'm doing a 12 to 24-hour live stream April 21st. So if anyone wants to hop on and chat with me help me get through 24 hours, just let me know. I'll send you a link.
Hell yeah.
But thank you for listening, and have a good night.